All right, gentlemen, so we are going to get into the prestige ranks. Since we have a very good idea of how they work, there will be 4 prestige ranks. You will be able to pick a buff at level 25, and then 90% of the time in most games, it'll drop you back down to level 1, and then you will have to re-level to 25 to pick the next buff. And on top of that, we also know that once you pick your buff, you cannot exchange it. So once you pick it, it is set in stone, so you really have to pick the best buff first, and then work your way down the list for the class you're playing. So since it is like that, this is what I really suggest. If you have multiple characters at level 25, you're going to want to prestige one class, your main class, that you want to really work through the ranks first, and then kind of wait on the other classes just for the community to figure out if there's some kind of bugs going on, if they're syncing with certain perks on the class differently than the developers thought, making them stronger than what they appear on paper. So I'm just saying, in the first week of prestige ranks, there may be a lot figured out for other classes, and you're going to regret it if you pick a buff and then you have to work all the way up to 25 again to actually pick the strongest buff for that class. So that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to prestige one class at first, and then I'm going to at least get him to rank 2 or 3 before I even think about the other classes. So that is, and maybe 2 classes at the most you should prestige, just in case you run into somebody that you can't group with somebody because you're the same class or something like that. But other than that, I would keep some of them on the back burner just in case some things are figured out over the first week or so of it'll honestly probably be figured out in the first few days of the prestige ranks being out. So give it a little time with that. Start with one class, and then the next thing up is where you're going to want to level, since you're probably going to drop back down to level 1, and you're not going to have all of those good perks that you usually have, but your weapons will still be extremely overpowered because you will still have the mastery versions of them. You shouldn't have much troubles running in Ruthless, and that is going to be my source of experience when it comes to the prestige ranks. I think it's going to be a high success rate. I think you run the operations very smooth. They are pretty quick, and the experience is pretty substantial, especially after all of the different buffs they made to, if you clear out so many enemies and things like that. So you get a lot of experience on it. It's a very chill type of difficulty, and I do think it's going to end up giving the best experience on top of everything else, with the time it takes to run it and, different things like that. So I really do suggest Ruthless difficulty. If you're somebody that is more, you don't have as much time to play and you're kind of in Ruthless now and that's your main, your top line, then maybe Substantial instead. But I do think most people, if you're all mastery with all of your weapons, then Ruthless should not be much of an issue, and I think that is going to really give you the best chance to prestige very quickly. I don't think it's going to take long in Ruthless to go through 1 through 15 extremely fast, So, that is basically how I am going to run my prestige ranks. Like I said, I wouldn't go in there and just prestige every single class instantly, because on paper, some buffs could look, or just, there just could be bugs and different things that are unexpected with certain perks working, not intended to work that way. So, and it usually happens. So that is why I'm saying kind of lay off on prestiging every single class at once. So for me, extremely excited about the prestige ranks. I think they are coming out at the perfect time because it's going to give us something for that 2-month gap, from April probably till June until Horde mode. So you're going to have April, May, and then probably probably a week in June to prestige rank, and then you're going to move right into Horde mode, and then we're going to be able to really test out how strong our classes actually are. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a perfect setup. I think the next 4 months for the game look extremely exciting, and I really can't wait to get into the ranks and into Horde mode.